All right, we know we're late to the banned and restricted party. Everyone else already dropped their hot takes, packed up their pitchforks, and moved on. But hey, think of us as that one friend who shows up a week late with pizza. You didn't need us, but now you're glad that we're here. Today we're breaking down the September 1st BNR update in Flesh and Blood, because even if it's old news, we're going to make it loud, I'm going to make it messy, and way more entertaining than a Reddit thread. So buckle up, we're diving into the bands, the unbands, and the kind of design philosophy that shifts, the design philosophy that shifts that make you wonder if LSS is playing 4D chess or just rolling dice behind the curtain. With that being said, I'm Will.
I'm Ning.
I'm Evan.
All right. And guys, before we jump right into this week late BNR thoughts and reviews, let's talk about what we learned since last week. And for those that, are going to stick with us throughout this journey, we understand that this is going to be our take on the BNR, but we also going to kind of keep it open and generic and kind of try to bring in other learning pieces. So, it's going to be a good thing for everyone that's going to listen to us. All right. But with that being said, what did we learn since last week?
I learned Bonds of Agony should be banned.
Scott already with.
How many times did it hit you, Ning?
Oh.
1, 2, 3, 4. 4 times within the span of 2 games. It was not very fun as Puffin, which in fairness is already a rough matchup. But the Bonds of Agony and or Bonds of Agony take up the mantle combo is not very kind. Where I don't know if I learned anything, to be quite honest, because it's one of those things where
you learn that mechs cannot play D-Reacts and boost.
Yeah.
And that makes them cry.
Pretty much.
But Evan, I'm going to jump ahead real quick and kind of piggyback on Ning's statement. Because my learning was also involved with the playing the game with him and being one of those degenerate Bonds of Agony users. I learned that you could be ahead on tempo, you could be ahead on card advantage, you could be ahead on a whole bunch of other things. But if you don't read your damn cards, and you try to do an attack reaction on the wrong dagger that doesn't say stealth, then Puffa can still win because it was a very close game. So I learned you should read your cards.
Would you like to elaborate? What card did you not read?
So, well, as people were gathered around the table, I so confidently flipped over the card, and Evan, what was the card? It's going to draw me a blank.
It was Tarantula Toxin.
Tarantula Toxin, right? And I put it on Hunter's Clave instead of Chalistra, which I had out. So, and I looked up at Ning, and he shook his head. No takey backies. I was like, I'm gut punched. I'm triggered. Let me look off into the side because I'm not angry at Ning. I'm not angry at this game state I created for myself. I'm just angry that I did not read the card on such a basic card, right? It said stealth. And so I was like, you know what? It was gut wrenching, but it still got to be a really close game. Being like he tried to hold it on, I was able to get it out, secure the victory. But again, it was fun. But read your cards. Right, that's what I learned, and I have a trouble with that too because as I was playing Florian, right, you see how I sometimes thought the decompose mechanic came from the graveyard, not the banish zone. So sometimes I forget these things. So it's nice to have a little refresher.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, anyways, from now on, whenever we do a set review, Will has graciously volunteered to read every single card, so this doesn't happen again.
Well, yeah. It's also I don't know if it was the too many whippets I had as a kid, but I'm just joking, guys. But it's like my memory is like cottage cheese, dude. Like I don't know what's going on. I'm sometimes I'm Aussie a little bit. You know what I mean? Just a little dead inside. Is that too soon?
It might be a bit too soon.
All right, Evan. What did you learn since last week?
A lot of side eyes this episode already.
A lot of side eye. I wish Trevor was here to reel him in a bit, but
I got them out.
On my side, I played Syndra. One final time, I brought a lot of Arachne hate cards because Arachne is very, very good, and Syndra has a very tough time into it. And I played a very, very spicy card that I wanted to test out, and turns out it was really good, and I was very happy to see it.
Is it
The
secret
spicy
tech, Kevin?
card, it's not secret. We can talk about it. The spicy card in question is Leapfrog Leggings. Yeah, so the
That's pretty
idea
spicy.
the idea is that you have red wax on, which blocks for 5, and Leapfrog Leggings, which blocks for 1. So together they block for 6, which hits like most of the attack reaction breakpoints from the assassin. And I thought I was cooking a bit too hard, but no, it was pretty good. So I was very happy with that.
Right? Yeah.
So
Pretty good,
with Project Blue coming out, I gotta say I picked up cold full versions of the playset of this, and I am very happy I did. Because this is a really good common armor suite to have. Just in general, I just like it.
I think for Project Blue, the rare set of equipment, Guardwell equipment in this set is probably the cold foils I would want. But we'll talk about Project Blue at some point in the future.
I am curious
LSS starts talking about it more.
Silver Age, whatever it's called.
But our locals have been playing a lot of that, so I'm very excited for that format.
Yeah, and the locals playing it, like one of our newer players, Tim. Shout out to Tim because he stomped me with his Dory deck. My God, he made me feel bad. Like he pit me back when I first started playing because he played Dory so optimally well that game. Like dominate attacks, swing. Like I just couldn't get rid of the counters. I couldn't block out. And yeah, he kind of had gas from the get-go, but he even went first. Got tempo back when I was on my Florian, and just proceeded to take the game. I was like, man, this is like bringing back good memories, as good as the Bonds of Agony memories, right, Ning? So, okay, now we know we're a week late, but let's go ahead and get into what the BNR was. And it's just the nature of the way our cast is recorded. We do want to give our take on this, but we put out our cast on Sunday. The BNR came out on Monday, and we do a recording throughout that week, right? So we understand we're a little late, but we still wanted to kind of give some kind of feedback. We had a lot of talking to, and we had a lot of good points when we were talking to each other in the armories and then going back and forth with that. So this is now on video for us to listen to in all perpetuity. Yeah, there it is. And if the savvy audiences will listen to me, they'll notice that some days I'm more eloquent than others. That's because I'm tired some of those days. All right, so let's talk about it. Banned, Bonds of Agony, Golden Tipple Red, Golden Tipple Yellow, Plume of Evergrowth, and Talk a Big Game. Unbanned, Germinate. That's the skinny of the BNR statement. I love that they put out these statements first and foremost. And let's talk about that. We come from different backgrounds in all sorts of games. War Gaming, 40K, Age of Sigmar, War Machine Hordes. I also played, other card games, usually like smaller indie developers. And communication-wise from these companies, very dry compared to what LSS puts out, right? What's your thoughts on the statements they made in this document before we actually deep dive into the document?
Are you talking about like, hey, these are the things that are banned and this is the reason why they're banning it?
Yes.
Yeah, I think overall it's always good to hear the reasoning behind it, and then seemingly it seems like they give examples of why it's banned, not just like a high level, hey, this is why we think it should be banned. I think examples help illustrate the reason why they're banned or unbanned. So it's pretty good. I enjoy it.
Our favorite boy, Brian G. Very eloquent man. And I think this time around he did a good job of sort of talking through, explaining all the bans that happened. And there was a bit of learning too. There were bans that happened that they mentioned that previously might not have happened, but we'll get into that once we get into that.
Yeah. And there's some of the smaller formats we won't talk about. We will kind of give it like a loving mention to. Blitz, they banned Talk a Big Game. And Living Legend, they unrestricted Deadwood Dirge, so it's now legal to play again in all its playset glory, which is 3. So let's start with the big bad element in the room. No, we're not going to have a bone to pick with Gravy Bones yet. We're going to start with Bonds of Agony. This card. Now, people were saying, and this is common against a lot of the podcasts I listen to, or a lot of the Reddit threads I go on to. But a lot of people weren't thinking Bonds of Agony would get hit. They kept on saying that the card that was going to get hit was the Take Up the Mantle, right? Have you heard this, Evan?
I have, yeah. I
Right.
think like it's mainly just people were saying that 6 Bonds of Agonies is far too much.
Which
I'm in the camp of, to be honest, I think it was kind of shocking to see anything banned, to be honest. But Take Up the Mantle is a card that released this year, and I think without Bonds of Agony, I think it is a perfectly fine card. It's a very creative card, and it's a pretty fun card without bonds. So
Yeah.
I understand why they did that. Take Up the Mantle went from being like a very problematic card to being like a solid piece of the puzzle for Arachnes, simply just with bonds leaving. So,
and you summed it up perfectly right there. And in every discussion I've had or listened to, they kept on vilifying Take Up the Mantle and saying, but it's like having 6 bonds. Now I was thinking, why not just ban bonds? Like why just like why worry about Take Up the Mantle when it's really everyone's saying it's bonds that's the issue. So it shouldn't have came to a surprise that they were going to try to bring assassins a touch down. It would have been Take Up the Mantle because this is a journey that the assassins have to go on to. Like you have to attack a marked hero to get the full effect, right? And some of the stealth cards you get, if you pull this too early, it's problematic, right? So it has to come at the right time. So, but bonds, like you go have it in your graveyard, and then you get one of these later on in the game. It's effectively doubling the count of Bonds of Agony you have in your deck. So, I thought it was more logical to ban bonds, right? And Ning, you said the same thing. You're like, Take Up the Mantle's not the issue. You've said that for a very long time.
Yeah, I don't know. Take Up the Mantle, I think, is just Azuri's ability in a card format, but more geared towards assassin attacks, right? You at any given time, if you use it correctly, you're essentially at best playing a 2-card 6 assassin card, and then you could do stuff on top of that. And so I think overall the Take Up the Mantle is a relatively fair card, all things considered. But Bonds of Agony, within the context of Arachne slipped through the cracks, it's just kind of silly.
Yeah.
Because when something this strong automatically has go again at every turn, there's no good answer to deal with this, right? You either overblock it and they just say, oh, just kidding, we're going to do something else, or you underblock it and they strip stuff away anyway. I think with new, and this might be a hot take in its own right, with new, there was no automatic go again. It was specifically based off of either using the boots, or maybe you can sneak in those go again attack reactions, which in its own right is kind of annoying. But when something automatically has go again, there's not much you can do to prepare against it, especially with decks that don't have reactions.
Yeah. And
I mean, to be real with this, I do think this is more problematic in new than it is in the new Arachnes. Keep in mind, I think like this new BNR is very interesting because it comes after they have implemented the half LL points, right?
Sure.
So for those of you who don't know, recently LSS was not happy with how fast some of the heroes were rotating, right?
cough, cough, Aurora, cough, cough.
Aurora specifically, let's be real. And because of that, they implemented a new system where newer heroes rotate slower. So newer heroes get half LL points. So heroes within the current year get half LL points when they win events. So they rotate a lot slower. And with that, they sort of mentioned they were going to be more proactive about bans, right? Because before, new is a problem, but we say, oh, okay, well, she's broken. She'll rotate in like 5-6 months, which is kind of, she rotated within the year, like within a year of coming out. So we don't have that anymore. Slippy gets half LL points at the moment. So if he is the top dog, even if like things aren't crazy criminally broken, it might still be important just to like hit a card just for the health of the game.
Yeah. And Bonds of Agony, man, is damned if you do, damned if you don't. Like, just exactly what Ning was saying. You could play this card perfectly, and you have no agency over, like, so the person playing this card, the assassin player, they said that this was supposed to be hard for them to get off and get the full effect, but we know that wasn't true. It was very easy, because they had their equipment on a stick that had reactions that they could play, right? And if you guys hear my cat going crazy, I do apologize. She's actually upset that Bonds of Agony was banned as well, but you know, it was a lot harder for the players to navigate because even if they blocked perfectly, right, they would still get punished. And I think LSS really wanted to have a little bit more player agency in the assassin matchup, whereas less punishing for playing correctly. You can play against Bonds of Agony correctly and still lose. And I think, Ning, you're very good at the fundamentals of Flesh and Blood, where you do block this card according to the math that's on the table, and even with your base gut feeling and how your player plays, and you still kind of lose out on those matchups sometimes, just because it's Bonds of Agony. So I kind of like how they got rid of this one.
Now I'm gonna have my hot take.
Go ahead. What's your hot take?
And this might be a shock because I don't play Assassin, but I do not like the Bonds of Agony ban. I think Bonds is fine. I think like it's a really strong card, don't get me wrong. I don't think it's like the thing is I think every hero needs access to power cards. Mm-hmm. So even though I really do not like seeing Bonds of Agony from my opponents, I do concede it is like a massive power card for Assassin. And without it, in my opinion, there are some ripple effects that make Assassin potentially worse than you might initially think about, right? For one, we talked about Take Up the Mantle. Take Up the Mantle has gotten worse, right? Like, Take Up the Mantle was broken because Bonds of Agony was broken, So, like, not only are you banning Bonds of Agony, but you're also kind of nerfing other cards too. And that's not it, not the only issue, right? Like, Persuasive Prognosis, for instance, was another card that was very, very powerful. And part of the reason why it was so powerful was because of the card Tunic, right? Tunic saw play because there were two cards, Bonds of Agony and Persuasive Prognosis, that were 1 power stealth cards that were very, very strong. So you got rid of half your good Tunic cards. So Tunic no longer sees play, in my opinion, in the deck. And then all of a sudden, if you're not playing Tunic, then Prog gets way worse too, right?
Well, here's the
thing.
So
all of a sudden, there are like 3-4 other cards that are either like being taken out of the deck or just getting like a direct nerf because of Bonds of Agony being gone.
I think, like, I hear you about like Bonds of Agony's out, so they're going to take out Tunic, but I think Tunic is still played. Like, maybe being on the side of Assassin and playing more Assassin. This is my hot take, Evan. I do think there's a lot of stealth cards that are blue and have 1 attack that's relatively good and still powerful and can still utilize. Now, is it as strong as Bonds? No. But you said it. Persuasive Prognosis is now the new high tier of this, but there's other cards like I'm going to just throw this out here. It's crazy talk, but heck, Mark of the Black Widow, all right? Stealth, 1 attack, 3 block, 0 cost. Still a good card with just a nick, right?
I could see like Mario running some of these. The thing about Slippy is very much like a Cheerios deck. So it's just like 0 cost. Like, you don't really swing daggers if you can help it. So because of that, like, you only play the blue stealth cards because they're very, very powerful. And I do not see Mark of the Black Widow being like a worthy replacement.
Oh, no, it's not a worthy replacement. I'm just saying it's an option that. Oh, let's go into the one I like to talk about.
Double Trouble might be a replacement.
Right.
I don't think it's a great one, but
is it the same thing? Absolutely not. It's not even close to Bonds of Agony level stuff. But that's still cards that are relatively good for your deck, for the Assassin's playline that can see play with relevant on hits. And that's just with two of them that commonly weren't played but might be an option. And there's not even no telling what's coming up in the future. But I do get your point where I think there, like a lot of our assassin players would naturally say, oh, well, if that's out, then I might as well see how other cards would fit into this deck. If I take out Bonds of Agony, then of course I'll take out Tunic and then Persuasive Prognosis. Now what does my assassin deck look like? So I do think them banning Bonds of Agony does shake up the meta, which is what their intention was in the first place.
I still think Prog goes in the deck. I just think, like, you don't worry about just the Nick Prog, which was like the big reason why Prog was so powerful. But yeah, I think that Assassin, another thing that's kind of interesting about the current meta, and we might talk about it more later, because of the Bonds ban. And I think, ironically, I think the Bonds ban is like the most important of all the bans, which is why everybody's talking about it. But Ranger currently is not in a great spot. And Assassin just lost their best disruptive tool in Bonds.
Okay.
And their second best disruptive tool in Prog, as I sort of mentioned, is getting worse as a result. So this is a meta with such little disruption. Like, it's kind of insane how little disruption is in the current meta, with Ranger not being present and with Assassin taking such a massive hit to its sort of negative on hits, right?
Mm-hmm. So are you alluding to one of the bans that are coming up, or do you want to say that
I am not. I'm kind of alluding to what
the
heroes
Guardian Uprising?
Enjoyed. No, not even that. I wish. God, I wish.
Okay.
But
well, you kind of mentioned the we'll talk about. It's a like, here's the thing: when LSS is doing a balancing act, it's a dang shame when good heroes get caught in the crossfire. Heroes that shouldn't even be there. For instance, Marlin losing access to a couple of her good tools, like Golden Tipple Red and Golden Tipple Yellow. This is a real shame for Marlin, folks. She lost access to a toolkit that she absolutely needed. So you took a bad deck and made it worse, right? I mean, she's not bad. She needs additional help. People still haven't figured her out yet, and losing the Tipple certainly didn't help that. But we also know, and I promised Evan I wouldn't bring this up for too long, but we also know that what this really was supposed to do was take the wins out the cell of Gravy Bones, right? So when we were talking about this, Ning, there was another card that was mentioned that people thought that might be a possible ban.
Well, the Swell Tide, something like that.
Yeah, the swell cards, right? Saltwater Swell Blue. These cards that would come up, they thought this was going to be banned. I didn't really think that this would ever be a problematic card in the first place. Right? I played a little bit of Gravy. It wasn't this card that really activated his ability, but it was, I feel like with them not banning the blue Golden Tipple, right, they really didn't want to take the toolkit purely from Gravy Bones. Like, this is the strongest Tipple, right, for him. And he still has access to a lot of strong yellows. And that's something that LSS has done that's really good. They made powerful yellow cards now, which, other than Art War, right, there wasn't a lot of them out there. Maybe Yellow Pummel, right? I mean, Evan, correct me if I'm wrong here, but recently...
Yellow Pummel?
Or Yellow Sink Below, right? The cards I like to play.
Is Jose watching?
No, hey, that Fang deck used the Yellow Sink Flows. That's all I'm saying. I was right.
Okay.
I was right. Anyways, but they didn't take out the blue Golden Tipple. Marlin still uses this. It's fine. Right? She needs help anyways. Gravy Bones lost two of his enablers and then still has access to the strongest Golden Tipple, which is the blue one. Thoughts on this before we move on? Did you think that was the right call? You think they should have banned all three?
I mean, you know the cynic in me.
Old man Evan, let's hear old man Evan come out.
They banned the two support cards that weren't in the Gravy Armory deck. It was the most obvious ban there was.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of shrugging.
Look.
LSS. I mentioned I didn't want to talk about the Gravy bans because no matter what bans Yeah, here we go. Here's my
It's never
complaint about gravy. Yeah, I literally I was talking to some folks and I was like, what would be a gravy ban I'd be happy with? And I was like, oh, if they ban Compass, if they ban Gravy's hero card, that'd be pretty cool.
Some people
If they banned
speculated on
every
Chun.
ally.
Yeah, if they ban Chum, right?
Nah, they're not banning Chum.
Chum is fine.
But
Chum is not fine.
Chum is fine. There's my hot take as a non-gravy player, Evan.
well,
Okay, I
Chum,
can have Bonds hot takes. You can have Chum hot takes. That's fair.
but like, not to be overly negative on this, right? But like, they took out the red and yellow tipples. Right? I thought they were going to just remove one. I'm actually thinking them removing both was fine, and the red and yellow I actually agree with. It leaves the strongest tipple out there. Gravy Bone is by all means not nerfed. Like he's just going to have to find new tools, right? Are we in agreement with this?
I mean, there are plenty of good tools around. Like,
Yeah.
I think, like, I'm not sure if this leaves him as the best deck in the format still, but he's definitely up there.
Still gonna be strong.
And I mean, that's kind of part of the issue is, I don't know. Once again, me complaining. I think Gravy is like a deck that's fundamentally flawed. Like, he gets less good into matchups that can beat him, but like Guardians and decks like that still have no chance. Evan, I guess unless you're doing like a hyper fatigue thing. But
Therapist Will's coming out here, right? Please hop on my couch. Let me tell you a story. I learned this from Jeremy. I learned this from Jeremy last week. Now, you think of Grave Bones as a necromancer, but he's really an illusionist.
Yeah.
in bone skin, right? Whatever, like in wolf's clothing, whatever you want to say it, right? That's why you hate Gravy Bones so much. He's just another illusionist to you.
Yes, I play Ranger and I play Guardian, so naturally, I'm biased. I don't like illusionists very much.
So, like, to go on with losing the tools that makes Gravy Bones more optimized, people like here, Lone Shark is still a great card, both for Marlin and for Gravy Bones. The stonks are going up on this card. Another card I was playing with Gravy at one time that a lot of people weren't high on, but might look at now, Prismatic Leyline, right? Still not a bad card, runs a lot of blues and yellows, might be playable. There's also another card that he might run, and I can't remember. It's another yellow, but it's not dual threat. It's slipping my mind. If you guys are
flying high,
it wouldn't be flying high.
No idea.
Anyways, that's what happens if you don't write the cards down, right?
I was thinking like potentially, I don't know, Sigil of Cycles might see play.
You know what?
Maybe Seafloor Salvage, cards like that. I don't think yet. No. I don't think it's yellow pummel.
All right.
I'll help.
Man, I'm feeling froggy tonight, guys. Can you tell? I'm like high up here or something. Anyways, let's go on to the next one. That was our Gravy Bones talk. We'll pass that to the side. I still think he's going to be playable. For our new players, this is not a bad thing. When people see bans and restricted, they think it's terrible. LSS does a really good job, putting thought into this. So, some of these changes aren't just, them trying to mess with the new player base. It really is because they want a fresh new meta with, decks always kind of fluctuating and things not getting static. I like that in a card game.
Yeah, we'll talk a bit, I guess, once we get through all the bans about how we think the meta will shake up. But
sure.
Sorry, Ning, what were you saying?
I was just saying, you were talking about the slower LL points with new heroes, and supposedly that's because they're trying to take time to ban. I just wish they did that with Aurora more. Like, even without this slow down LL points, they should have banned more stuff or anything at all.
I'll say, like, a big issue that they had with Aurora, and they're currently having it with Gravy Bones, is cards with Aurora needed to be banned, but any card worth banning was in the Aurora Armory deck.
Yeah.
So how do you ban a card and then like a new player buys like a new deck and then you just say like, oh, sorry, that's an illegal
same as
deck.
Everybody else. You just ask for more bulk.
So
like, what else can you do?
I don't want to mess up our cast, but by screwing around with the settings I have here. But I want you guys to really look at the Golden Tipple Pirate's face. All right. It's just I never really noticed how he has this, grin. Like
He's happy. Yeah,
he's so
he's still
happy.
alive.
He's
Rude's
still
still
alive,
alive.
right?
He's
He's
got a
like
nice drink.
he hears Evan's commiserations, and he's like, have a little rum. You'll get over it, buddy.
Oh, I like Golden Tipple and Marlin.
Yeah, I
So
think.
But
All right, let's talk about the next
anyway,
one, and
I digress.
this is actually an interesting one. I didn't see it coming, and I was looking at this card before they announced the ban. Let's talk a big game. All right, 0 cost. I don't think a lot of people know what this is, but Brute Guardian action cards make sense that people are looking at heavy hitters again because hey, there's a heavy hitter number 2 coming out, and there's a lot of dual action cards here. Choose a number. The next time you deal that much or more damage to a hero this turn, deal that much or more damage to a hero this turn. Create that many might tokens. Let's go again. They preemptively banned this. Thoughts on this, Evan? Thoughts on this, Ning?
I think there are any number of reasons for this. We did see Bully Tactics, if we can bring that up. That was a card that's been previewed already, and it has the triple Intimidate. So this card seems really good if you can buff this up with like some auras, which is something I know like Guardians have a lot of like aura cards that buff. Like this seems like it would be really good with talk of big game. Confidence tokens, which is one of the tokens in the set as well. Confidence tokens mean that your first attack action card can only be defended by 2 non-block cards, right? So most decks don't actually run block cards. So most decks with 3 blocks can block at most 6 damage. So talk of big game into a confidence token, like a big attack. That also sounds really busted. So,
And I have a feeling that one of the reasons why they banned it. What's that little guy's name? And I'm not trying to disparage anyone of short stature.
you're talking about Lyath?
Lyath. How do you freaking
Lyath?
Yeah.
Just sound it out, Will. Just sound it out.
Dude, I was spelling Li. I'm trying, man. All right. Do you think like this is the reason why they actually preemptively banned it was because of this guy right here?
I don't know. Maybe.
Right. I mean,
like Bully Tactics with him seems pretty good. And as mentioned, Guardians get like a bunch of auras. Like suspense auras is like a mechanic in the set. So if they make some like buff suspense auras, like they could be really broken with talk of big game.
Yeah.
What's that 3 for 7 card that destroys auras?
Cut through the facade. Yeah.
Do you think we're going to see a lot of those?
Maybe. It kind of depends because some of the auras that they've shown so far have leave the battlefield triggers. So cut through the facade doesn't actually help you very much if
if you could like destroy a courage token which pops on their turn, then wouldn't it be okay?
I guess that's true. I guess it can target tokens. Maybe. I've always liked cut through the facade, so maybe.
This is actually this is an expensive card from the get-go. It was, I think, short printed and heavy. Sorry, Rosetta. And Rosetta was also a hard set to get. I think this is a $20 card last time I checked, and I don't even know what the price was.
10-ish now.
If it's 10, I'm getting my playset because I think this card's going to go up.
I bought mine for about 10-ish, maybe 12, something like that.
Yeah. So thankfully, we should really start our affiliate link with TCG Player, but we don't have one right now. So buy it from your local game store.
Of course.
By gambling.
But yeah, so they mentioned in the article that talk of big game they wanted to preemptively ban because they knew it was going to be a problem. So in the past, they did not do this for the card Zephyr Needle. Zephyr Needle was a card that became a problem with the introduction of the Hunted. And like they mentioned that learning from that, like they thought they should have preemptively banned it, but they decided not to. Ended up being a mistake. It needed to be banned. So this time around, they just said, okay, we are preemptively banning it. There's no need to worry. We know this is a problem. So
yeah,
banned in both Blitz and CC. So obviously it's a problem with some of the new cards.
So yeah, go ahead. Nick.
In fairness, though, didn't they ban Berserk before KO came out? So
They did. So yeah,
consistent,
they did
man.
do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
But-
ban if you think it needs to be banned.
Well, they also
Calm
banned it
down.
because there
I
was
agree.
also his armory deck that had a lot of good equipment that synergized really well with Berserk. It would make things bonkers. All right. So that's talk a big game. Hey, I'm curious. I'm super stoked for the new set coming out, Super Slam. I'm being dressing up as a wrestler, Nacho Libre mask and everything. I'm gonna try to get one. We'll see how that goes. Shirtless. All right.
So when this podcast releases, the spoiler
set.
season should have we should be in the middle of spoiler season.
Yes.
So
Yes.
comment below if they've revealed a card that breaks talk of big game.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'd be super curious. All right, so let's talk a big game. Let's go ahead and talk about the other band, the helmet, Plume
Plume of
Evergrowth.
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 Yep.
No.
Now, I'll give a shout out to Siblings and Cardboard, Tommy. That man and his cast, 4 days before the BNR statement came out, said, "Hey, they have to ban Plume Evergrowth because Verdance had such a banger card that was reviewed, right? So there's no way that they'd keep
light up the leaves.
light the leaves.
So
Pretty
Plume,
card too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is a new card in the expansion slot of Super Slam. So it has not released yet.
Mm-hmm.
And it three resources, 3 block, deal 6 arcane damage to any target. As an instant, you can discard it in an earth card to prevent the next 6 arcane damage target source would deal this turn. And importantly, it's an earth wizard action. So with the Plume of Evergrowth, you can take this out of your graveyard as an instant. Then you can activate Storm Striders and kill your opponent if they're at low enough of a life total.
Also, it's not optimum, but you could just get pretty much light up the leaves, turn 0 play, just start filling up your graveyard with earth cards because you got 2 of them in there.
Yeah.
Right? You're already getting your mechanics online a little bit faster. And I know sometimes with Verdance, getting those earth cards in that Banish Zone is key for her to ping in that damage.
No,
over and over.
that is a legitimate valid thing to do, to just discard them just to get those earth cards for the decompose. But yeah, so Plume is a big hit just because it was what you use for your combo turn. Because the combo, of course, is Rampant Growth Life. And then you just play Rampant Growth Life as many times as possible after gaining a lot of health. And Plume allows you to buy back a Rampant Growth Life. So it made the combo more consistent. It made it easier to do. Yeah. Plume, the more earth cards they print that are powerful, the more of a problem Plume becomes. So I do kind of agree with banning it. I don't think it's too big of a problem, but Verdance is pretty well poised in the meta.
What's she run now as far as the headpiece equipment goes? I mean, there's still the Crown of Providence, Balance of Justice, all that stuff.
Yeah, just one of those.
And they also have the Lignum Vitae, which I don't know if you would run, but it might be an option. Bring it up.
It might be an option just if you really want more earth cards in your graveyard, but I don't think it's that good.
Yeah.
Well, hold on. No, this is dumb. Just equip a Crown of Providence and it blocks 2 already.
Again, it's not because of the block 2, because Verdance gains life, right? That 1 extra value, losing it in the beginning to be able to get online earlier, will save you so much money.
Talking about using
Pure
the
earth
helmet. But that doesn't, I don't know. To me, that doesn't make sense as a valid replacement.
I don't think it's worth it to give up
because
Crown.
Evergrowth was, you're not popping that turn 0 either, right? So I feel like the reason why it exists
was for the fishing of the earth card and to I'm not saying it's a great card to do, but I'm saying it isn't a cheap option if you don't have the Crown of Providence or anything else.
It's a good option if you're a budget player because
Thank you, Evan.
Generic crowns are kind of insanely expensive. So
this cardboard can be expensive, All right, so we talked about Plume, Evergrowth. That's all the major bans that affected CC. Let's talk about the unbanning before we just do an honorable mention for the other formats. Germinate coming back. Now, Evan, I'm not sure if you know the title of our podcast, but Bonds of Agony Germinating on the BNR information. Thank you, Ning, for that nice little play on words there. I wish that I was that smart. But his big brain came up with that title. And so, what's this do, man? I mean, I dabbled in Florian a little bit. For our audience out there, they're like, man, this man dabbles in a lot of decks, and he still sucks at all. That's so true. But what's this do? So obviously it's a Florian card, right?
I guess what does this do for the meta, I suppose?
Yeah, so the answer is probably nothing. What's funny is, so the reason why Germinate got banned is because Germinate is a really powerful fatigue card, right?
Mhm.
Germinate and Plume of Evergrowth means that you should win like any game in fatigue, right? Because Germinate is so strong in those late game situations. So it got banned, but to be completely frank, it feels kind of silly banning it in hindsight, just because when Gravy Bones came out, oh no, I'm talking about Gravy again. But Gravy Bones came out, and instantly any slow deck was not allowed to exist in the meta.
Mhm.
Like, every deck had to be fast enough to beat Gravy. And Florian went from the top deck in the meta to basically irrelevant.
B tier. I mean, I still think he had played. Our local Lawrence cooked up a really good solid deck idea, and I liked it a lot. Liked it so much I asked for the list and made variations of the list, and I played that version of Florian.
Yeah. I mean, I'm talking like top tier stuff. You could definitely bring Florian at an armory and do okay with it, as long as you dodge the Gravy. So.
And I know last time when they said they banned it because of a potential high seas card that came out. They were talking about Everbloom Life. If you guys want to see this, just turn your monitor 90 degrees to the left.
Essentially, Everbloom allows you to put
Bring it back.
Germinate on the bottom of your deck.
Yeah.
And then so in a fatigue situation, you get extra Germinates, which is your most powerful card for fatigue. Now, Germinate, I don't think fatigue is going to be too big of a deal in the upcoming meta because Gravy Bones still exists. Though Germinate is a block 3 Earth card, so Florian getting access to another playset of block 3 Earth cards is a pretty big deal. And while I keep, being sad about the Gravy bans, I do think they are enough to make a hero like Florian potentially playable. Florian is in this weird position where he's not like super action point heavy like a ninja, but he does have a lot of go again attacks. So because of that, he does have better game into like Gravy Bones and ally based decks than like Guardian or Ranger, for instance.
Yeah.
So because of that, he might be good enough into Gravy post ban that he's playable.
Yeah. And I still think he's like, honestly, I have an idea against the Gravy Bones play that I think will work. Right, as a Florian player. I've
said that before. Remember performance bonus and Victor?
I still think it's better than the card I decided to go with, which cashed in. And he looked at me and says, Will, look at his shield. Read the card.
That's true.
So anyways, I don't know. I think at Germinate coming back, I do think they realized that it was probably a little too much when they took out his key card, and it really didn't change anything other than just take in a strong deck. They already took Bonds. What's the Pain Scepter? Scepter of Pain?
Oh, Scepter of Agony.
Oh, Scepter of Agony, right?
The Agony cards.
All the Agony cards, right? So, I think that taking that away alone was probably enough for a lot of the Florian hit. But, I think Germinate coming back, I don't think it's going to be a major thing. It will make Florian playable, like Evan said. But yeah, so that's Germinate.
I think the Gravy bans make Florian slightly more playable. To be honest, I think Germinate coming back does nothing outside of like it's a blue block 3, so
that's
like
exactly how I use
you
it
have
so
slightly
far.
more game into aggro, basically.
So when Germinate came back and I started playing Florian this last armory, I was like, man, this absolutely doesn't really do anything from my original game plan anyways, except I can see where if I get it to the second cycle and we go that long, it'll definitely be backbreaking for my opponent, because this will really kind of help me get control of the tempo and the game state back. So, but yeah, when I was playing against all the aggro decks, nah, I just used it as a block card or a pitch card.
Yeah, against like a Fatigue Guardian, keep them in your deck and for the late game because this is your win con. So
yeah. All right, let's go ahead and briefly talk about, because I said this wouldn't be a long cast, and I guess it's a relatively short cast of what we normally go on. Like the Illusionist podcast was what, 2 hours roughly, like an hour and 50 minutes. So we might keep it under an hour and 15 minutes, guys. Maybe even sooner. But let's talk about the Deadwood Dirge, Unrestricted, and a Living Legend, right? I mean, that's obviously Chain centric. I hear about Chain, never played Chain, but I heard he was like the better Shadow Runeblade. Evan, do you have any thoughts on this? You're probably the best one to speak to this.
Yeah, it's actually kind of an interesting unrestrict, I guess, because Chain was doing not too great, and then Viscerai just kind of fell off the face of the earth. They went from like some of the best decks to Chain was still okay. Viscerai wasn't doing so hot, unfortunately. And I think unrestricting this makes both of them better, but it also poses a couple new additional questions, right? Runegate cards are known because they are Vinsets cards, but ironically, Chain also likes them. And Deadwood Dirge made the Runegate cards very, very potent. So there is a question of, will Runegate come back now that Chain has access to Deadwood Dirge as a 3-of again? And I don't know the answer to that. Like, maybe not, though. But outside of that, like, honestly, I'm kind of shocked at the Unrestrict, just because, like, the LL meta, there aren't too many, like, big LL events, so there isn't much, like, data to go off. But Chain just got a very, very powerful new card from Guardian Mastery Pack, and the meta has not like shifted to see like how much that changed things. And the card in question is Call for Backup.
This card's also stocks went up, man. Jesus.
Yeah, this card is currently, I believe, in like top Chain list, being played as like a 3-of. So Chain got a really powerful new card. I guess, Ning, if you want to read it.
Sure. It is a red 3/7 card that blocks 2. It is generic attack, which is interesting. When this defends, choose 2 attack action cards with different names in your graveyard. An opponent chooses one of them. Banish that card and put the other one on top of your deck. Seems pretty good for these Shadow Runeblades.
Yeah.
It gets even more broken with Soul Shackles, just because like the top card will also get, so you get both of them. So it's basically like a draw 2.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So you block for 2, and then you get to draw any 2 cards from your graveyard.
Oh man, and 1 card 8 seems pretty good.
Yeah, it's kind of insane. So seeing Chain get a card unrestricted after he got a card as powerful as Call for Backup is kind of interesting. I know some people, because I was, for Worlds, for instance, I know some people are preparing for Worlds, and Worlds will have Living Legend in the format. So yeah, this change is actually pretty big.
Yeah. All right. So that's pretty much all the BNR changes so far. Our thoughts on that. Hopefully, our audience still with us, still liking this content.
Yeah.
We gave you a couple of our hot takes and our solutions and our viable alternatives to our cards. And this is how we're going to kind of approach the BNR list going into the future. So it's not all doom and gloom and hate. I mean, there's going to be a little bit of that because, hey, you're still messing with our cardboard, right? We don't try to take it personally, but we take it personally, right? And I get that, right? So where do you guys want to go on with this next? Do you want to talk about, like, design philosophies, how
I guess I would probably want to talk about where the meta is after the dusk settles. Like, what do we think is now good?
Well, they toned down Gravy Bones, and Gravy Bones was a predator out there, right? And they didn't nerf him, just toned him down, right? So what really changes with all this being shaken up? Like, what do you think? I think Florian comes back. He might not be S tier, but he's definitely A tier, right?
I don't know about that. To be honest, I'm not sure how the meta shakes up like ultimately, but I
Mhm.
think the one thing I know is the two heroes that came out of this happier than anybody else is probably Acilio and Syndra.
Okay.
Mm.
I was going to say I have a take on Verdance, but let's hear your Astilio and Syndra take.
Because I think like Gravy Bones is still good, and I think like the decks that were keeping Acilio and Syndra in check were disruption decks, right? Specifically Arachne.
Arachnes and Arachnes.
And now Arachne lost their best disruptive tool. So yeah, Syndra and Acilio, like as I said, Assassin lost their best disruption tool. Rangers don't exist. So there's nothing to disrupt either of these two aggro decks. And if you leave Syndra and you leave Acilio without any disruption, like they will clean house, man.
So so my thing on that is with Grave Bones, they typically they were hard to fit in CNCs, Command and Conquerors, into their main board. But with the red, gold, and Tipple being out, you might lose a little bit of that gold power. But I say 3 Loan Sharks and 3 CNCs as main deck, right? And see where you're at with the Gravy Bones, and you add more disruption in addition to his Conqueror, right? Uh,
Yeah, but the big issue with both of those decks is that, like, for instance, I play Syndra, and
Mm-hmm.
if I think my opponent is running a lot of like Arsenal destruction effects, I just won't Arsenal. Yeah, I will just like, my Mask of Momentum draws me a card. I'll just play it. So it's kind of a good game plan into that. And Acilio has similar things, right? I play
Solace.
Acilio, like, yeah, put Sigil of Solace, put like any sigil in your arsenal. They play disruption. You just play the sigil out. Like
Fair.
you have so many instants. So yeah, that's why like Bonds was so good, because it was like disruption that you couldn't play around and you can't like ignore, right? So I do feel that the upcoming meta will sort of revolve around those two decks. Just because like I feel like the only change, like Gravy gets slightly worse. I think Florian's allowed back into the format, but Florian is like a 50-50 into Syndra, and Florian loses to Cilio. So yeah. And then of course, like, you know, Guardians like Jarl beat Syndra, but they lose to Acilio, and they also lose to Gravy Bone. So I doubt Guardians make a comeback.
Where is Dash in all of this?
That's another good question. I think Dash, Mechanologist in general goes up as well.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
the issue is like if Florian comes back, I think Florian does beat Dash, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Just because
he has a lot
adjacent.
No, he has like 12. He has so much defensive tech in his sideboard and main board. Like I think at minimum we run like there's 5 to 7 blocks, 9 D reacts, right? So we could just easily fatigue, and we can also do a 1 card 4, pitting pressure on the dash. We hold 1 card, and if it's a blue, it's 1 card 4 coming at you, right? So that's why it's so hard. That's why it's a tough matchup for anyone that. And that's why I think
I do think Dash, like Bonds being gone, makes like Mech's life a lot easier, as you know, Ning, as a man who got Bonds 4 times. So
yeah. I don't know, and my take is I think Wizards are actually in a good place, man. Like my take in general, like, and that means KO, Verdance, Acilio, right? But I was more or less seeing Verdance played more than any of the other Wizards. So, and I forget Acilio's a Wizard. I know that's so bad, but the way they play it's so hybrid. I don't even know what you would consider Acilio. He's just like his own little thing sometimes.
he's a wizard.
He's just a thick room blade, you know?
Yeah, it's just he's like a mixture between all that. But I don't think it sucks that Plume and Evergrowth got banned. But with some of
I think Verdance is still okay. I think she's pretty well poised.
And I agree. I think with Light Up the Leaves, it's definitely a helpful card for her. And who knows what the next set's going to bring out. Anyways, these 4 new heroes might actually shake up the meta a lot, right? And I'm excited because I'm a brute player at heart, so I'm excited to go back to my roots.
I mean, Will, you know me. I'm a cranky old man. I said, did you ban Gravy Bones' hero card? No? Okay, well the new set is not going to be good then because
So-
Guardians can't beat them.
Just keep playing Syndra. What's the problem here?
That's the plan.
I should just Photoshop Lilas the face with yours a little bit because he's got that little evil grin. Right? But I don't know. There's no old man here, right? Like in the CC format. So maybe this is a better one. Like just giving the side eye treatment.
Lol.
But yeah, so I don't know. Oops, pulled out my headset a little bit too much. I'm excited. I think a BNR list from LSS did exactly what it was supposed to do. It helped refresh the meta. It is allowing different heroes to kind of flourish and change up the current existing decks. It might not be a lot, but I don't like a heavy-handed approach. Light touches. Like there's like in the field I'm in, there's a term we call unintended consequences. You make one action, and there's so many ripple effects from that one action that can have unintended consequences, right? So you always have to be mindful of that. So I think LSS always being careful about this and even, preemptively banning things to avoid trouble, it does so a little thought. I also like how it does keep things fresh. I'm like, people got to rediscover Gravy Bones. So the deck that won 2 weeks ago, guess what? The decks that won like Mario and Slippy in the Battle Hardens and Callings, they're going to have to kind of figure out. And those 3 cards could change a lot, like you were saying, Evan. They might not play Justin Nick. They might not play Prognosis now. So that's exciting,
Yeah, that's true. I have no idea where Assassin lies in all this, like, without Bonds, but...
I'm just happier that Assassins are getting more fair and people won't be snubbing Azuri anymore as much,
They'll always snub Azuri, I'm sorry.
We're just bridging that gap just a little bit.
Look, so, I mean, Ning, and before we wrap this up, you kind of said it best, right? They did Azuri fine when they printed her Hero 2.0, right? They just made it take up the mantle. So
I think Azuri is due for specialization.
Yeah, well, that's what
a lot of specializations in the expansion slot so far.
Maybe they'll give her 4 pieces of equipment. Maybe they'll give her 4 pieces of equipment she could buy with silver and have contract keywords installed on them, right, or something to do. Anyways, let's not.
No, they should make 4 pieces of equipment, and they count as silver.
Oh, he's thinking. He's thinking.
Actually, I didn't have the cards, but like this is off topic. I apologize for our audience. But so, what is Olympia's equipment called?
Golden Galea or whatever.
Yeah, Golden Galea, right? So this counts as gold, right? And I just want to bring it up because I don't know if it would actually work. But what happens if you pirate hook it, right? And you can steal their gold.
You can't hook it.
Okay,
it's not an item.
Yeah, because it needs to be a token.
Gotcha. Okay. And it did say token.
Don't worry, I'm a Victor player. I've thought of this.
Okay.
Yeah, gold token. Yeah.
Token. Okay, gold token. Okay. I wasn't sure about the keyword. All right, guys. So, anything else you guys want to add to this before we start wrapping it up? Evan, I know when we first did this, you're like, Will, you want to do a BNR podcast a week after the BNR came out? That sucks. I'm summarizing. He didn't actually say it in those words. Was it as bad as he thought?
No, that's fun. Sorry to everybody for dooming so much about Gravy. It will happen again.
Look,
that's what happens when we upload once a week, all right?
Yeah, and I guess people were experiencing the illusionist vibe, right? That's not joined when Prism was meta dominant or when Enigma was out, so they're just experiencing it through Necromancer.
That's right.
So, all right. Well, thanks for joining us this episode. It's been both a breakdown and a learning journey around the September 2025 BNR changes. They did announce the next changes are coming out in November, so you can hear our hot takes. Hopefully it's timed better, but we don't think it will be a week after. So if you need to find me, my Discord is midnight_WI11. You can feel free to hit us up. If you have any comments, you know where to drop it down below. And anything else you guys want to add to this? Then, until next time, remember, every turn is a decision, Every decision is a story, and don't forget your damn Tunic counter. Peace.
See ya.
I love how your dog just kind of took us out of the show.
Oh, you guys can hear that? Yeah.
That's really good.
That's